Okay, class, now we start section 4.4, the problem solving using system of equations. Now, we have our steps here. It says step 1, read the problem, then reread the problem, then reread the problem again. Continue this until you know exactly what you are trying to find in the problem. And then also define your variables. You should have two unknowns, x and y, for example, for every problem. The last sentence in a story problem often contains this information. You should never start trying to write an equation until you know what you want the equation to do. Draw a picture or diagram if possible. Now step 2, write a system of equations. You always need the same number of equations as you do variables. So you will need to write 2 equations. Also, label your equations. What are your equations describing? Step 3, solve the system. Use substitution or addition method. Okay, step 4, interpret the results. Check that your answer makes the equation you developed true. Check that your answer is reasonable in terms of the situation and state your conclusion, including proper labels. Okay, now let's take a look at example 1. It says a rectangular lot whose perimeter is 320 feet is fenced along 3 sides. An expensive fencing along the lot's length costs $16 per foot. An inexpensive fencing along the 2-side width costs only $5 per foot. The total cost of the fencing along the 3 sides comes to $2,140. What are the lot's dimensions? It says define your variables. Now we're dealing with length and width here. So x is our length and y is our width. Now it says create and label your equations. Now first of all, we need to find, it tells us the perimeter. So we need to find the perimeter. So we have perimeter is equal to 2 lengths plus 2 widths. Now we know it's told to us in this problem that the perimeter is 320 feet, and that equals to, we let x represent our length, so that'll be 2x, plus the width is our y, which would be 2y. So we substitute it in for our length and our width. Now that is our first equation. Now the second equation, it tells us here that the total cost of the fencing along the 3 sides comes to $2,140. So what we would do here, we would write down our $2,140, and we would set that equal to, so we had $2,140, and we notice here that our length costs $16 per foot. So it'd be $16 or 16 times x, because all of our length is $16 per foot. So now, the next thing, we have to deal with our width. Now our width we have to treat a little differently, because what happens is this here. We know that our width is $5 per foot, so it'd be 5 times y. But remember, we have 2 sides here, so it'd be 2 times 5y. So now our equations that we would be dealing with is 320 feet equals 2x plus 2y, and then down here we will have 2,140 is equal to 16x plus 10y. These are our 2 equations that we would be dealing with. Now we have to go through here and we have to solve this. So this is how we would go about doing it. We will write our 320 feet, and that's equal to 2x plus 2y. And then we will have our $2,140, and that's equal to 16x plus 10y. Now we got to ask ourselves, do we want to use the addition or the substitution method? I think I would want to use the addition method. So what I would want to do here, I want to cancel out these y's. It doesn't matter which one you cancel out, but I want to cancel out these y's. So what happens is this here. Both of them have the same sign, so we know we're going to multiply at least one of these equations by a negative number. And then we have to find the common multiple of 2 and 10, which is 10. So 2 times what is 10? And we know negative 5. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. And down here, since we already have a 10, we don't need to rewrite. We don't need to multiply this bottom equation. So negative 5 times 320 will give us a negative 1600, and is equal to negative 5 times 2x, which would be a negative 10x, and negative 5 times 2y is a negative 10y. Then we will write down our other equation, and that's supposed to be a negative 1600. And then that will give us 16x plus 10y. Now we add these two equations. Negative 1600 plus 2140 will give us 540. And that equals to negative 10x plus 16x is 6x. These 10y simplify out. And then now we divide each side by 6. And 540 divided by 6 is 90. And we'll put the 90 feet with it. So 90 feet is equal to x. Now we have to remember this. We need to find y now. So now that we have 90 for x, we need to find y. We could take either one of the equations. I'm going to take the original top equation since it deals with smaller numbers. So we have 320 is equal to 2x plus 2y. We have 320 is equal to 2 times 90 plus 2y. 2 times 90 is 180 plus 2y. We subtract 180 on both sides. You scroll down here just a little bit. 320 minus 180 is 140, and that equals 2y. Now we divide each side by 2. And 140 divided by 2, we know is 70, and that equals y. So it'll be 70 feet is equal to y. Now, what we have here is this here. Now we solved it. Now we have to interpret the results. So the length is 90 feet, and the width is 70 feet. And we're done. Now class, for examples 2 through 4, I took the liberty of filling them out, but I will explain them. Okay, now when we go to example 2, it says China's average daily oil production was 3.30 million barrels in 2000 and has increased about 0.08 million barrels per year. China's average daily oil consumption was 4.75 million barrels in 2000 and has increased by about 1.8 million barrels per year. Estimate when China's average daily oil production was equal to its consumption. What was that equal level of production and consumption? Okay, now what ended up happening here are X is the years after 2000, and Y is not total consumption, it should just be total. Okay, now we will have Y is equal to 3.30 plus 0.08x, because remember, in 2000, we had 3.30 million barrels, and they increased by 0.08 million barrels per year. So per year, we know we're going to multiply that by x. Now for the second value, we have Y equals to 4.75 million barrels, which we have here, but it was increasing at a rate of 1.8 million barrels per year. So that'll be 1.8 times x. So these are our two equations. So now we scroll down here where we solve the problem. Now what I did here, instead of using the addition method, I used substitution. So what I did, I substituted in this 4.75 plus 1.8x for this y here. So when I substituted, this is what I got here. So now, after I got this here, I wanted to get all the x's on one side. So I've subtracted 0.08x on both sides. And what I was left with is 4.75 plus 1.72x is equal to 3.30. Now I needed to subtract 4.75 on both sides. And on the left-hand side, it left me with 1.72x. And on the right side, it left me with a negative 1.45. Now, this is what happened. We divide each side by 1.72, and we had x is equal to a negative 0.843. Now remember, our x, we're doing years after 2000. So our x cannot be this decimal, so we will round to the nearest year. And the nearest year would be negative 1. Now that is our x. Now we solve for our y. Now, I decided to take the first equation, and I had y equals 3.30 plus 0.08x. Now I substituted in negative 1 for x, and I had 3.30. 0.08 times negative 1 gave me a minus 0.08. 3.30 minus 0.08 was 3.22. And y is approximately 3. So what this means is, in about 1999, the production and consumption was at about 3 million. That's what this means, because this is 1 year before 2000. So we'll take 2000 minus 1. That's where we get the 1999 from. And this 3 represents 3 million. So it was about 3 million. Okay, now we have a total of $5,000 was invested in 2 accounts for 1 year. At the end of the year, account A was found to have earned a 5% return, and account B has earned an 8% return. If at the end of the year the accounts have a total value of 5,328, find the amount invested in each account. So X I put as account A and Y as account B. Now we know account A plus account B is supposed to equal $5,000. So X plus Y is 5,000. Now we know the account A had a return of 5%. So we write that as a decimal, 0.05x. And account B had a return of 8%, which is 0.08y. And that's supposed to equal to 328. Now, as I scrolled here, I decided to use substitution. So I had x plus y equals 5,000, and I took it off to the side here, and I solved for y. So I subtracted x on both sides, even though the x isn't shown here, but I subtracted x on both sides, and that gave me y is equal to negative x plus 5,000. So I took this value here and substituted it in this equation here. So we were supposed to take 0.05x, 0.08 times negative x is a negative 0.08x, and 0.08 times 5,000 is 400. And you bring down your 328. We combine like terms here. That gave us a negative 0.03x plus 400 equals 328. We subtract 400 on both sides because we're trying to get x by itself. So you have negative 0.03x. We divide each side by negative 0.03 because on this side 328 minus 400 was a negative 72. Now when we divide both sides by negative 0.03, we get x is equal to $2,400. Now remember, the total of the accounts are is 5,000. So we would substitute in, I use this first equation, and I substituted in 2,400 for x. So 2,400 plus y equals 5,000. Subtract 2,400 on both sides, and y is equal to 2,600. Now in my statement here, in account A, $2,400 was invested, and in account B, $2,600 was invested, and we're done. Now in this next problem, example 4, we have a mixture problem. A lab technician needs to mix a 5% fungicide solution with a 10% fungicide solution to obtain a 50-liter mixture consisting of 8% fungicide. How many liters of each of the fungicide solutions must be used? So X is our 5% solution and Y is our 10% solution. So we know those two solutions added together must give us 50. This is where we get the x plus y.